Working with a chronic health condition can be challenging, to put it lightly. This is because chronic illness, such as pain or diabetes, amongst many others, can lead to significant fatigue, brain fog, difficulties concentrating, and therefore reduced productivity at work. This creates stress around potentially losing your job or having to give up work, leading to financial worries and potentially problems at home due to this. You may not even have anyone else in your home to lean on in the difficult times, so there is added pressure to keep performing at work. So in this video, I'm going to let you know how to improve your energy and productivity at work in order to continue living a life filled with purpose. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, my name is Mahin and I'm an advanced physiotherapist specialising in chronic pain management based in the UK. On this channel, we explore lifestyle strategies and tools to help people manage pain and other chronic health conditions in order to create healthier and happier lives. I was asked recently to make a video on how to keep working whilst also managing chronic pain. So by the end of this video, you'll know the steps to take to optimize your energy and productivity at work whilst living with any chronic health condition. Let's dive in. So we can do absolutely everything right that I'm going to mention in today's video, but if we're struggling to identify our purpose at work or the value that we add with our job, then sustaining any sort of productivity or motivation is going to be so difficult. This doesn't mean that a job needs to be something specific, like directly helping people or contributing to some kind of cause. But knowing your worth and the value that you add in your role is key to remaining productive at work and looking forward to going to your job each day. This may be adding a smile when serving a customer to make their day that little bit better. It may be listening to a colleague's concerns about their home life, or it may be taking pride in the quality of what you're building. Purpose comes in many forms, so find what yours is in your job. Without this sense of purpose and meaning, we have to solely rely on motivation and the fear of job loss or financial worries to keep us going. And to be fair, this is for everyone, not just for people living with a chronic illness, but this is the first step in improving energy and productivity at work. So start by writing down what value you add or would like to add in your current role, and this can go beyond just the job itself. Then write down what you want your purpose to be at work. So in other words, what do you turn up to work each day hoping to do? There are many ways that we can optimize our energy, from improving our sleep through to our morning routines, right down to the food choices that we make. So I want to break down some of my pillars of health to help with this part. Firstly, starting with sleep. Our energy levels and productivity are significantly affected by the amount and quality of sleep that we get. Good sleep is not just made up by the amount of sleep that we get, it is made up by this quantity, but it's also made up by the quality of sleep that we get as well. So ensuring that we get as close to 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night and ensuring that we get down to the deep levels of sleep is absolutely vital. For this to happen, there are many things that we can do during the day as part of our nightly wind down routines and as part of our morning routine as well. I've done a previous video covering sleep in detail, so I'm not going to go into further information about this today, but if you want to find out 10 ways that you can improve your sleep, check out the link in the description below. The second way that we can optimize our energy is thinking about the food that we consume. So food is fuel for our bodies, and everything that we consume has an impact on our body in some way. And that's why a balanced diet is so important, because without a balanced diet, we don't get the correct nutrients that we need to fuel the various bodily processes and functions. I'm going to explain this using an analogy of a factory. So let's just imagine for a second that we have a factory, and within this factory, there are lots of different stations and machinery that need to be operated. Now, there's particular types of workers that are allowed to operate this type of machinery. Now let's say one day what happens is there's all of one type of worker queuing up outside the factory, all looking to go and operate a particular type of machinery. The factory opens and the machine workers go in and they all form a queue outside the machinery that they need to operate. Now, because they're all one type of worker, this queue for this one machinery is quite long. And because there's only this one type of worker, the other machines that need to be operated don't have any workers available to operate them. What this leads to is just a really inefficient factory that isn't going to provide the right outputs that it needs to, because there's only workers operating one type of machine and no one to operate the other types of machines. This is what happens when we don't have a balanced diet. So when we consume too much of one food group and not enough of the others, it leads to our bodies not performing in the most efficient way. Now let's just imagine for a second that the rota coordinator got it right this time, and there was a queue outside the factory before it opened with all different types of workers to operate all the different types of machinery in the factory. The factory doors open, the workers go, and they all go to the different machines that they need to operate. Here, in this example, there's enough workers for each type of machinery without an excess. This leads to a well-optimized and efficient factory, and everything runs smoothly as it needs to. This is an example of what happens when we have a balanced diet. So all of the nutrients that we need are consumed by the body, and they go off and they fulfill their different processes and functions that they need to. This is why having a balanced diet is absolutely key. For chronic health conditions, we want to avoid, where possible, pro-inflammatory foods such as processed food, sugar, excessive gluten and dairy, especially if you have an intolerance to these. It's also worth thinking about increasing your intake of anti-inflammatory foods such as omega-3, oily fish, turmeric, pro and prebiotics, just to name a few. This is because low-grade inflammation, and a lot of this can come from our diet, has been linked to many chronic health conditions. And having a diet high in carbohydrates or sugars can lead to peaks and troughs in energy levels and fatigue, especially if you have a condition like diabetes. So keeping a food diary to note the different foods that can have an impact on your energy levels throughout the day can be really helpful. Diet can be really confusing, and there's lots of information about there about, certain diets that seem superior to others, or the right types of food to eat or the wrong types of food to eat. So I like to simplify this with my own patients and give them one simple rule to follow when deciding whether a food is healthy or not. So when faced with a food, asking yourself the question, was this made in a factory or was it made by the earth? Always choose foods that were made by the earth where possible, because these are likely to be more whole foods and natural occurring foods rather than processed foods that are made in a factory. Stress drives us into a fight or flight state, which has various effects on our functioning. One of these effects is a weaker immune system, more fatigue, less energy, and an increase in cognitive issues such as difficulties concentrating or retaining information. Stress and our fight or flight response is a protective mechanism against potentially threatening events. This has been needed throughout evolution, with our cave people ancestors having a very real risk of being eaten alive. However, in the modern world, threats now present as work-related or family issues, trying to live up to external expectations, financial concerns, ongoing health conditions, or poor sleep. As a society, our stress responses are in overdrive, so it's really important to help calm this and make our body feel safe. One way of doing this is through mindfulness practice that may look different for different people. One way of practicing mindfulness is formally, whether this is through a guided meditation, yoga, or breathing exercises. The easiest way that I fit being mindful into my day is by being intentionally mindful when carrying out certain tasks, such as brushing my teeth, eating my meals, and going for a walk. This takes me no extra time as I'm doing these things anyway, but being intentionally mindful when doing them helps me to reset my frantic brain from overthinking. By focusing on the present moment and the sights, smells, sounds around me, it helps to reduce my threat and drive systems and activate my soothing system. Doing this helps reduce fatigue throughout the day and improves things like energy, concentration, and of course productivity. This ties in with ways to optimize your energy that I just spoke about. So all medication comes with side effects, and sometimes those side effects can outweigh the benefit from that medication. Of course, some medication is absolutely needed and can't be done without for certain conditions, but other medication is used to suppress certain symptoms. As a general rule for pain medication, the longer we take a specific drug for, the less effective it can become over time because of the body developing a tolerance to it. Unfortunately, a lot of these medications come with the side effect of significant drowsiness and fatigue, which can impact someone's ability to work and even drive. So if you're living with a chronic health condition yourself, it can be really important sometimes to reflect on your own medication and being completely honest with yourself about whether the benefits are still outweighing the side effects or whether things have tipped the other way. Many long-term health conditions can be managed through making and sustaining positive lifestyle changes, whether this is being more physically active, eating a more whole foods diet, improving your sleep, or reducing your stress levels. By focusing on your lifestyle, you may find that your reliance on medication reduces, and you can reduce your dose with the help of your prescriber or a medical professional. therefore reducing the side effects associated with the medication, such as drowsiness. As always, information on this channel is for educational purposes only and should not substitute professional medical advice from either your healthcare professional or doctor. Please speak to your medical or healthcare professional about your medications and your medical conditions, especially if you're considering reducing any of your medications. Everything that I've already mentioned in this video will improve your fatigue, brain fog, concentration, and therefore your energy and productivity at work whilst living with a chronic health condition. One last way of enhancing your productivity is eliminating any distractions whilst you work so you can focus all your energy and concentration on the task at hand. And eliminating distractions is one of the best productivity tips for anyone, whether they are struggling with a chronic illness or not. But why it's particularly important if you do live with a chronic illness is that by focusing on one task, it reduces the cognitive load and means that your brain is not having to switch rapidly from task to task or between stimuli, which is really helpful if your condition or medication means that you have any cognitive difficulties in the first place. The term multitasking is misleading, as when we're multitasking, we're not actually focusing on lots of different things at once, but rather our brain is having to rapidly switch between tasks or different stimuli. This is not only fatiguing, but it also means that we're not fully focusing on any of the tasks, which leads to a poorer retention of information and also worse quality of work. One way to reduce distractions and prevent unnecessary task switching is by using the Do Not Disturb mode on your mobile phone and laptop, or putting your phone on airplane mode. You may also find that doing your work in shorter stints with mini breaks in between can help your productivity as you focus on deep work within shorter chunks of time, knowing that you have a short break coming up in a moment. Using free tools such as the Pomodoro timer you can find online and in the description below, you can break your work up into 25-minute chunks with 5-minute breaks in between, for example. To learn more ways to increase your energy and focus at work and why multitasking kills our productivity, check out this next video on why multitasking is a myth and 6 ways to improve your focus and concentration. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on this next video.